let's just sew whatever. Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to be cutting out the Riva mini backpack from Bagstock Designs. I have fully cut out my pattern pieces that are not squares, and I did measure my test square before I got started. With Bagstock patterns and really any sewing pattern, you always want to check your test square. That's why it exists, so that you know that the scale of your backpack is correct. Now, if you were to scale down or scale up your pattern, you would not want to check that test square because it wouldn't be accurate. But I have here the additional cut list, technically ×2. Sometimes I like to use the labels as my checklist, and sometimes I'll just use the cutting chart. But either way, I have used packing tape to kind of cheaply laminate so that I can follow along the pattern and cut everything out as we go. I am going to make 2 of these because why not? But we're going to go ahead and get started cutting out this one. I'm using something I call Ace glitter vinyl. This is pink pumps. I always like to keep the flawed rolls and sell the good ones, so this is just a flaw. No big deal. I'm going to work around it. And then I have this as my accent and possibly some of the lining. And then I think I'm going to use, let's see, just a water resistant. No, I think I'll use waterproof canvas with it. Just so I can add structure, and then I'll be using binding as well to finish off the bag. So I'm just going to use this light pink from FWD Fabrics with it. I think that'll look really nice. I'm going to be making some changes as I do, but we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to cut it all out with you right now. So I'm going to kind of figure out what I want each piece to be. So I think exterior, front, and back, I'm just going to do vinyl. So I'm just going to kind of set up little piles to help me stay organized. This is the flap, and I think I want the flap to be the waterproof canvas so that the center strip is the print and then the flap is the print. There isn't a pattern piece for that center strip that I printed out. It's one of the squares. So I'm just wondering, front slip pocket middle, that is a pattern piece listed here. If you have some kind of marker or anything, you could also kind of color it. I just don't want to forget that I need that piece. Oh, dang. I was trying to watch How I Met Your Father, but my internet isn't working. Not that you needed to know that, but anyway. So these are the slips pocket side pieces, so I'm going to cut those out of vinyl. And then there is the slip pocket lining. So if you did not want to piece together that front panel, you could just cut 2 of these. And so I think I'm going to add a slip pocket to the back of the bag as well out of my contrasting waterproof canvas. So I'm going to set that in that stack there. And then we've got interior pieces, different facings, etc. And then I've got Decaville Light or fusible fleece. And I think what I want to do for that piece is actually the foam, lofty foam, or maybe it's lofty fleece. This is from Fabric Therapy. This gives such a fun like weight and puffiness without adding a ton of bulk. Plus we can cut it out of the side seams, of course, but especially with vinyl, like I don't necessarily want the structure that Decaville Light gives because the vinyl is so thick. So I may end up using this in place of Decaville Light, etc., especially on the front flap. Like, it's just going to give it a fun texture. So anyway, that is me explaining all of that. So let's go ahead and get started. I may as well cut out this piece. So I need 2 of these out of this stabilizer. One thing that's really nice about Bagstock patterns is if you want to cut out all of those pieces, you absolutely can. All of the squares are given as pattern pieces, and if you don't want to cut them out, it's listed within the pattern instructions which ones are squares that you do not need to print. So, love that. And another thing I really like about Bagstock patterns is, like, you can always trust that it's going to be a fun sew. Like, you're likely to learn one new technique, and they're just really, like, beginner friendly, but also can be a challenge sometimes. Like, the curves might be a challenge, or, you know, there's a pocket that might have a new technique that could be applied to another pattern. So it's fun. I sometimes struggle, especially the past couple of years as life has gotten more hectic, switching from designer to another designer, because seam allowances are always different. Their writing styles are a little different. So if you are like that as well, I see you and I get it. The one downside to these self-adhesive stabilizers is they can kind of tack up your rotary cutter, but you could just keep a alcohol wipe nearby and that would help. So as I'm finishing these, I'm going to put it in the pile for the next one. I don't want to cut out both of these at the same time as I'm filming this video, because I feel like it would get a little too confusing then. Alright. So grabbing my little stabilizer piece. I might try the other one with Decaville Light, and if I do, I will try to compare them within the video, or maybe I'll do a second video kind of comparing and contrasting. So once I'm done with a piece, again, I'm just going to move it into the next pile and just kind of clean up as I'm working. And you can either do it all at once or kind of check it off as you go. But I know that I've got my stabilizer pieces, flap, got that. And main body. And then you can also kind of look through the stabilizer column and see, like, what else do I need out of the fleece? Or maybe I want Decaville Light in the gusset and fleece in the main, but I think I'm going to do fleece on the gusset and Decaville Light on the top of the zipper so that that has a lot of structure. No, probably not actually. That's one thing that can be hard when you're making a pattern and choosing what materials to use, is like there's all different ways you could stabilize the bag, and none of them are wrong. They're all just different. sometimes like I find a favorite way to do it, but then I change my mind next time. There's just no sure thing. You never know. And what could work one day may not work the next day. Okay. Oop. Okay. Main zipper closure, got it, and gusset, got it. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the vinyl. So I know that we're gonna need some straps, unless I wanted to use webbing, but nah, we'll do vinyl. Vinyl crossbody strap options, there's back strap, if using vinyl, if using fabric, so make sure that you're taking into account which style you're making. And now I'm not super worried about the flaw in the vinyl because this is going to be hidden on the strap. So this is our crossbody strap. I'm going to go ahead and tape my center while I'm here. back strap. Oh, cut 2. Yeah, okay. I was like, wait a minute. So now for this next strap, I'm folding my fabric to 20, which is half of what it needs to be. And then I'm going to cut it double in the other direction. So right now I'm cutting 6 by 20 on the fold to cut both of my straps at once. I think I'm going to need another roll of this vinyl to cut out the main panels, but that is not a big deal. Back strap if using vinyl, gusset, main zipper closure. Okay. So there is my gusset, and I can go ahead and add my stabilizer. So to peel that up, just kind of lift up on the lofty part and peel away. It almost has like an egg carton feel to it, but like in a fancy way. It's really nice. And then you want to make sure that you're not stretching it. Ooh, that feels so nice. Like it just adds some puff to it. I don't know, it's so hard to explain. Definitely try it if you can. Gusset. This would be a really fun backpack to quilt a part of it, I think. Especially that front pocket, if you wanted to not use those pieced together pieces, you could always just kind of put some pieces together. So those pieces are still going to need lining, but I've got those done. So I'm just kind of going through the exterior column now and figuring out what all I need to cut. So front slip pocket. And this piece is actually a mirror image, but I think it's super helpful that she made them two separate pieces so that it's super beginner friendly. So I love that. I'm wondering. And then you can even keep those pieces clipped together so that when you're putting the bag together, you know which is which. Make sure. Oh no. I don't think I have another roll of this on hand. That is okay though. I might be able to find an accent. If not, I will order more from myself. Trying to think, I could always do main body. That's all vinyl. Got my straps out of vinyl. Slip pocket. The slip pocket covers quite a bit, so I feel like if you needed to, you could even... I'd be so mad if that wasn't recording. I feel like if you needed to, you could even cut the exterior in a way that when you add your slip pocket to it, you're able to kind of piece it together and use less vinyl. So maybe I'll do that. So I definitely want it to go below where the slip pocket piece is. So I'm going to measure 4 inches down from the top edge. I'm not going to cut this. I'm just going to make a mark. So this is where we will splice it together, but we have to think about our seam allowance when we join that. So I'm basically going to need to do cut 2 exterior of this top piece, and then we'll need to add 1/2 inch or whatever seam allowance you're going to do for the other side. So I'm trying to think. So think about it this way. You're going to be losing 1/2 inch for the exterior front back top piece that we've now created, which means I need to add 1 inch to the other piece to make up for the seam allowance we're losing. So I will make another line here. So this is what we're cutting out of 2 lining, and then just this piece here is going to become our exterior because that 1/2 inch is all on the lining. So it might not make sense the way I'm explaining it, but it makes sense in my head. So we can continue by just tracing this on our vinyl. At that fold. And if I need to, which I'm sure I will need to, I can always sew those pieces together and then verify with this pattern piece that they match up. Okay, now I'm cutting the second piece, and I'm just going to do that based off of the other one. This is not as exact as it should be, but it will work. So now I can fold this piece and set that in my lining pile to know that is what I will need to cut that out of lining. Okay. So exterior front and back, side 1, side 2, flap is going to be a different fabric, and then we've got handle and connectors and back strip. So I will go ahead and work on cutting all of that. 3. One, 2, 3. So none of these are going to need any woven interfacing because I'm using vinyl, but the pattern is written for the most basic materials. Okay. This is the back strip. Wanted to say like a chicken strip. Have you ever seen a chicken strip? Have you ever seen a back strip? But we don't need to do that, do we? So there is a flaw there, but I don't think it's going to be super seen on the bag, so I'm going to let it go so as not to waste too much. It's still usable. Where does it go? Where does the expo marker? There it is. Okay. Back strip. And now the front slip middle pocket. This is my contrast. I don't think I need anything else out of the vinyl except the side connectors, which I do want to add. They're not very obtrusive and don't take long, so I think it's a quick way to make the bag even more versatile for a customer or yourself. So I'll go ahead and cut those. So I would say this definitely took a full roll of vinyl. I had not cut into that. So the changes that I have made to that front panel are making it friendly for a full roll of vinyl, which is cool. And then I have a 1/2 yard of this exterior contrast fabric, but we will see what we can get through essentially. Okay. Front slip pocket lining. This seems... trying to figure out which way is less wasteful. They kind of all seem equally wasteful. So this is going to become the back slip pocket that I'm going to cut lining fabric from. And then we're going to cut our center accent for the front slip pocket that gets sewn together. I'm going to cut this a little bit bigger than it needs to be and then trim it down. There is that, and now it can't hurt to kind of clip these together now. There's that. And now we're going to cut our flap from the exterior. I think I'm going to go ahead and just use this for both sides. Oh, it might be fun to add like a strip of the vinyl to the front of that too. I'm not going to, but I'm just saying it would be fun. And then the pattern calls for a turn lock, but I think I'm going to end up using a magnetic snap instead. I just like the look of it being an all clear, like all fabric. Okay, so that is the front slip pocket lining zipper pocket facing. I don't understand that piece. Front slip pocket lining zipper pocket. It would probably help if I read the pattern. What'd you think? Alright, the front middle is cut. So now we're basically just on to the lining fabrics. So I'm loving how quick this has come together. No. Okay, we are on to the lining. I'm working on the main front and exterior, the one that I'm piecing together. So So I'm going to go ahead and mark out my seam allowance at 1/2 inch because I feel like most Bagstock patterns the seam allowance is 3/8, and I want to make sure that I'm piecing these together correctly. So to further explain and hopefully get you to understand, if you don't already, why I added 1 inch to this other piece is because when I put this 1/2 inch and that 1/2 inch together, that's 1 inch, which means because I didn't add 1/2 inch to this piece and 1/2 inch to this piece, it wouldn't add up if I hadn't added 1 inch there. So hopefully that helps. It'll work, and I'm excited. It's a good way to not like use up as much vinyl. You could use a cheaper material for the underside of that slip pocket. So now we just need to cut actual lining out of this, the full size piece. But now we have our exterior front and back officially done. Front slip pocket lining. Okay, there's that. Okay, so now this one is just lining for the slip pocket that's actually given in the pattern. So I don't need this one anymore, so I can just put that in my done pile and add this to my slip pocket pile. So all of these are going to be what I start with when I put the bag together because they need to be pieced together essentially. So even if you need to help yourself stay organized by adding several different bins to your pattern or clipping certain pieces together, that can be super helpful. It always works for me. So I've got all of my straps taped. These are handles. Now these need lining pieces. I did not read through the pattern, so I don't know if it's finished with binding or not. But I'm going to finish it with binding. I assume it is. Okay. So I'm going to move on to my gusset pieces out of the lining. And really quickly, I'm just rough cutting a section from the lining pieces so that I can then focus on what size it actually needs to be as a smaller piece. And it's just easier to kind of square it off that way. Just verify they're the same size and clip all together. Sometimes I like to cut the waterproof canvas lining wider by like 1/2 inch just to compensate for bulk when folding that seam over. But I'm not that worried about it with this one. I just didn't feel like it. Lining, gusset. Okay, this is the interior zipper pocket facing. I don't know if I'm going to need that. I don't usually add a facing to the zipper pockets, but we'll try it. Interior slip pocket, we need to cut 2 of these. I might cut 1 out of waterproof, and then I might cut 1 out of the printed, just adding some contrast to the lining. I think it'd be pretty. Yeah, I think that's going to be fun. So it's my slip pocket for the lining. Which means all of the back page is done. I'm going to move on to this one. Interior zipper pocket. Front slip pocket, lining zipper pocket. That to me is super confusing, but also sounds really fun. So let's see, I need a 2x8, another 2x8, so we'll cut that out of this scrap here. Front slip pocket lining, front slip pocket lining zipper pocket. I'm going to use my 8x8.5 zipper to cut the last pocket pieces, because okay, interior zipper pocket. front slip pocket. So that is the front slip pocket lining zipper pocket. So I'm going to clip the facings and those pieces all together. All that's left now is to cut 2 of the lining. And then we are done cutting the Riva mini backpack from Bagstock. I am super excited to sew this together. Again, it's one of those like non-threatening, challenging bags. I don't know. I'm sure you all have those bags out there that you're like, man, I would really love to make that, but I don't think my skill set is there, or I don't think I have the mental capacity to sew it. And I'm just at like, I don't know that I have the mental capacity to sew that. I am working on getting that back, but business and parenting is so very draining. All right, that is all. Thank you so much for joining me while we cut this out. I'm super excited to make this with you in my next video. I hope you will join me. I hope you grab the pattern and support Nimrata, and I will see you all